Hello and welcome back to another One United podcast. I believe this is a 10th episode, isn't it, Emre?
Yeah, believe
Yeah,
so.
cause for celebrations there. As ever, I'm joined by Henry. Henry, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I mean, there's cause for celebrations, but I mean, we might have to put it on hold a bit given the recent results.
Just a little bit.
Um, Obviously, coming off the back of a 2-1 defeat against Sevilla.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on the game?
I'm not annoyed because obviously it doesn't really make a difference to our season. In terms of we had to get top four and we got top four, so that's the most important thing. But then, yeah, it wasn't a very good performance to be honest. We lacked so many kind of different things in terms of character and quality and just I don't know, there just seemed to be a lack of cohesion inside as there has been in the last kind of 2 or 3 games. So um, I said before the podcast, if we play like we did against Copenhagen, we'd lose the game, and we did. Um, we didn't play any better than we did against Copenhagen, and that to me is worrying. With the side that we put out, strongest side, I guess Fred played okay, but probably unless Matic had a knock, we should have started him. He's a better player and seems to kind of bring the side together in a better way. But yeah, not great. I don't know what you kind of thought of us playing. Would you make of it?
Well, it just sort of says a lot about where we are at the minute that I was quite pleasantly surprised by the performance because I was expecting to be just completely outclassed. I thought this would be a game where we'd sit back, hold on, and look to counter, whereas it was completely the opposite. We were creating all the chances, and we just fell victim to our own game at the end. But yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I think Fred played well, but it's hard, isn't it? Because I think Fred plays well against teams that are actually better on the ball. I think he's better at breaking up play, whereas Matic is more of a player that you'd want for picking up the ball and breaking down low blocks. Um, so I don't think Matic would have done a better job than Fred, but I don't think he would have done a worse job. But yeah, I mean to create that many chances and not score, I think we'll give the attack the benefit of the doubt because they've got an average age of 21. They're
Yeah.
not going to be. It's a big game for them, and you can't expect them all to hold their nerve. Saying that, there was a lot of chances that went to waste that should have been scored that there weren't really any excuse for. But yeah, like you say, it's not going to have any impact on our season really. It's not like we needed to win it for Champions League football, so I can't say I'm devastated. Obviously, it would have been nice to win a trophy, but yeah,
Well, I think that's. I mean, we created so much. I think that's what frustrates most United fans probably about the performance is that we should have won the game. The game should have been over by 60 minutes with the amount of chances we created in the first half and the first kind of 10, 15 minutes of the second half. The game should have been done by then. We should have been 3-4-1 up. And, you know, you've got to bury those chances, even as a young side. I can understand the kind of the sympathy with the side because they are a young side and they're still coming through and still learning their trade and stuff. But at the same time, you've got to be putting those chances away as a top three side. Essentially, that's what we are. The table doesn't lie, so you've got to be bearing those chances against the top sides, or else, as we saw, you'll get punished. And the defending for the second goal that they scored was absolutely horrendous. Um, all four of the players that were, all four of the defenders that were involved in that goal, none of them had any idea what they were doing. And to me, that doesn't sit well with me at all. You've got Williams who should have stopped the cross, simple as that. And you never ever turn your back or turn your side to the ball when you're stopping a cross because you don't know where it's going to go, so you don't hang a leg at it. You either go all or nothing with a cross, really. And Maguire, we saw for the first goal, he kind of I don't know how he lost track of where the ball was in the first place. You saw him running in one direction, the ball goes in the other. I don't know what he was thinking. And the second goal, he didn't cover himself in glory either. And yeah, Lindelof loses his man. Wan-Bissaka, obviously, there's no communication between those two and De Gea as well. And you're thinking 3 players marking one, or having the opportunity to stop a cross to mark one player, and they can't do it. So yeah, Lindelof obviously got shouted at by Fernandes, which I found quite funny. Heat at the moment, but you need someone like that to up everyone's game, and that was Lindelof's fault. People can say it was Williams, or it had a little bit of everything really, but the blame lies with Lindelof because he didn't track his man. You've got to track a striker if he's going to the middle of the box, and if he's got a free shot on goal 5 yards out, something's going wrong. So yeah, this has just made the transfer market even more important. I read something you said on a podcast recently where you said, this squad will be able to hold its own next year. I agree with that, but I don't think it would work because we've got a Champions League as well. In the Champions League, in the group stage, if we have the squad and we play like that, we will.
Yeah, I thought I was taking a bit out of context. So I've sort of corrected it. So I was saying this is a squad that will hold its own. It will get Champions League football again, because we've patched a big problem from the first half of the season in that we are creating an abundance of chances now, whereas before we were relying purely on counter attacks. We weren't breaking down small teams, so that's a big problem that's been solved that I think will serve us well next season. But you don't want to just hold your own next season. That's what I was saying. A club this size shouldn't be just going season to season, going, right, we'll get Champions League again. We'll use that to build. It should be a team that's going, right, next season we win the league or it's a failure. So
yeah, I agree with that.
That's my point. I say this squad is definitely one of the best 4 squads in England, but you want to be the best one, which just sort of brings me around to the fact that the squad is average, and I think our loyalties are blinding us to that. I think the whole of the back line, Aaron Wan-Bissaka's had good defensive performances, but he's not good enough going forward. They're all players that can be improved. I think we'll give the fullbacks time. Well, Wan-Bissaka at least, because he's only 22. But you look at that midfield. As much as we all love Matic, he's not one of the best holding midfielders in the world. I think Bruno and Pogba, yes, they're both world class, but that attacking line will give the benefit of the doubt because they're all young and could improve. But I think United I think we're playing on our loyalties too much to think that this squad will ever win us the league. I think that if you want to be challenging City and Liverpool, there has to be sort of wholesale changes. Even Maguire, he's not. I think we're just trying to. We're hoping he comes good because we paid so much money for him. I don't think he ever will. I don't think he will ever lead us to a league win or anything like that. But so, yeah, it's a squad that will hold its own, but it's not a squad that will win titles or Champions Leagues or anything.
I think that's fair enough. And the problem I have is everyone else is strengthening already, and we're not. It seems to be an issue that goes on throughout the years. It's been going on for probably 6 years, ever since Ferguson left. And then kind of the Moyes season was understandable because of change of management, a bit desperate. Okay, so we'll just rule that first season out. So essentially, it's been 7 years since we've had a good transfer window. Last transfer window was okay, but again, no real. Besides, obviously, Fernandes in January, the summer transfer window was just purely spent on defensive reinforcements, really, which is okay, but I still don't see it really. There's got to be a bit of urgency from us. There's urgency from Chelsea. They've already gone and signed 2 players. They're looking like there's going to be 3 within their next probably week if they can sort the Havertz deal out, which, you know, they've just got to haggle over 20 million or whatever, which, you know, they'll pay the money eventually, I'm sure. So they'll have 3 players then, 3 world-class players. So they're improving and they're getting a better squad, although they've got to sort their defence out, which I'm sure Lampard will be pretty keen on doing. Man City already signed 2 players. Ferran Torres, I mean, they don't need to sign many players. They'll probably sign another centre half and I reckon maybe a left back because that's what they need. So in a game against Leon, they looked just so many mistakes. So
Well,
they'll sign.
I think that all depends on what happens with Angelino because he's coming back on loan. I don't think there's an option to buy for Leipzig, so I think he could be an option for them. So they might not even need to buy a left back. They could just focus on whatever luxury player they wanted, and I think that's exactly what they'll do.
Yeah, maybe. But I saw Angelino last night enough, and I thought not really good enough for the top level. They seem to lose track of the ball a few times, and you know, miss control and stuff. And Pep won't take these things lightly. He'll look at that game and think, "Yeah, I sent him out on loan for a reason." So maybe he'll try and flog him. I don't know. Mendy's probably on his way out. He'll be ruthless with the squad because this is the 3rd time that they've been knocked out of the Champions League since he's been there, or 4th. So, and with the squad they've got, they should be winning it. Really, I mean, Sterling missed a 5-yard sitter as always, but they should be winning the Champions League. Let's be honest, with the amount of money they've spent. So everyone else is improving. Liverpool have already signed someone as well, and they're looking like they might sign Thiago, which probably will be the bargain of the transfer window, if not bargain of the last 5 years, because he will be, you know, they're saying 30 million euros. That is incredible if you can get him for that money. He is a fantastic player, still doing well for Bayern, although he wants to leave, but they still want him there. So, yeah, we need to sign some players. Simple as that. And it's getting a bit kind of frustrating that we seem to be lagging behind everyone else.
Yeah, so just sort of building on that, there's rumours now that United are heavily in for David Brooks. There's being quoted of around £40 million, which when you compare it against that Thiago deal that you mentioned before, I think it's just stupid money to be paying for a player that's just been relegated. You got Van der Beek available for the same price. It's a deal that doesn't make sense to me, but it probably makes sense to United. They're trying to build Brexit FC. David Brooks just fits that mould perfectly. What do you reckon to him possibly signing?
Well, see, I see all the rumours of us being linked with all these different kind of players, and obviously you can't believe it until there's real proof that there's something going on there. But the Brooks deal, again, same as you, it makes 0 sense to me. He didn't really show much in the Premier League with Bournemouth. He was okay. He was fantastic. Didn't really do a hell of a lot. You know, he's got talent. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know why you'd pay 40 million for that kind of player. So we're haggling over 15 million for Sancho, and we're willing to go and potentially spend 40 million on someone who's unproven and, from what I've seen, okay, but not particularly fantastic. Doesn't set the world alight with his play. He's not quick either. He's not our style of kind of player. He's not rapid and doesn't, you know, he creates chances, but my God, spend 40 million on a player like that. We might do it and he might be fantastic. You know, but the worrying thing is I couldn't tell you if he's going to be fantastic or not because he's been so peripheral for Bournemouth and hasn't really done a hell of a lot. So the thought of doing that, I've said this to my dad recently about what will happen if we have a poor transfer window. And the fans will turn. They will. Because United fans expect and demand the best. Simple as that. So the thought of getting second or third choice players isn't in our nature. It's not good enough. In terms of what I think of it, I think it's poor. Although COVID's had an impact, fair enough. But that doesn't mean you don't go and buy the top 2 or 3 players on your list. It just means you have to sell a few more. So sell the players, buy the better ones. This whole Sancho saga is either got to stop or we've got to sort it out. And it's looking like it's going to stop because we're not willing to pay the money, which I don't think is good enough for a top 3 side. Chelsea are willing to spend potentially upwards of 80 million on Havertz, and we're haggling over 10 million for Sancho. It doesn't look good for the club, and the fans will turn if there's not a very good window. They will turn. We need a centre half desperately, potentially a holding midfielder, but again, that's one of those where I wouldn't be angry if we didn't get a holding midfielder. I'd rather get a right winger, a quality right winger, someone that can challenge the top 3 players in that side. Because at the moment, Rashford's in cruise control. He's looking like he doesn't want to be there. In the Sevilla game, I think I saw him run like 3 or 4 times chasing the ball down. His touch was off. He seemed at times he was walking back when we were defending. There's something not right there, and I don't want to be hypercritical because he's done a good job off the pitch. He's done a fantastic job off the pitch, and he's getting his just rewards for that. But that performance from him, he got a 5.9 on the FOTMob ratings, and I think the only player that got lower was Harry Maguire, who got 5.6. That is utterly dreadful. I know it's ratings from a football app, but we all thought the same. He was terrible. He missed so many chances. His first touch was off. And if I'm Pogba or Fernandes, I'm thinking this window better be damn good, because if it's not, what am I doing here? Pogba, most of all, will be thinking, I'm here to win trophies. And if this side can't win the Europa League, if we can't beat Sevilla after having like 20 attempts, then we need to do something about it. We need to get some different players in. We need to get some top quality players in, because at the moment it's just not working for me.
Yeah, I think just building on what you said about Rashford, he's playing like a player whose only competition is Dan James. He knows his place is secure, and he's playing on that by the looks of it. Anyway, I don't want to throw around accusations, but like you said, it's either he is still feeling the effects of that injury, or he's just in cruise control at the minute. But yeah, this spending this summer is crucial. Like you said, the fans are already turning because of how long it's taking to deal with Jadon Sancho. I think even if that deal collapses, no matter who else we sign, the fans aren't going to be happy. There's all the talk of having no money to spend because of COVID. You've seen it with Chelsea. Chelsea are spending money. We rake in a lot more money every year commercially than Chelsea do. There's money in the bank. It's not like they care about the fans who have been affected by coronavirus. I think kit prices to buy this season's shirt have increased again.
Yeah.
The owners have got money coming in. They just clearly don't want to spend it. But yeah,
it's been such a bone of contention for me that for the last few years, the Glazers don't spend money. They just don't. They don't come out of pocket of their own money. They won't. They'll use the club's revenue and stuff to spend in the transfer window. That's what they do. So, we can't expect them to do much. That's all I'm saying. Can't expect them to do a hell of a lot and to go and sign 3 top quality players, because Chelsea billionaire owner Abramovich, even though he's not allowed in the country, he's still willing to go and spend that much money. And Man City's owners own a country. So I think they're pretty wealthy in terms of what they can do in the transfer market as well. But the fact that Liverpool, who have similar owners to United, are here and we are like here is it's not good enough. It's just not. And we've been stagnant for 7 years now. I can understand, as I said, I can understand the first like 1 or 2 years transition, fair enough. But after that, there is no one else to blame other than the owners and the hierarchy in the club, because they're clearly not making the right decisions. Trophies, they tell for the top sides, and we're not winning any at the moment. And we've lost 3 semi-finals this year, so we've been a nearly team. That's not good enough. Need some big players.
Yeah, just whole scale changes are needed everywhere. We're seeing that with other big clubs at the minute. We're going to talk about it later on, but you see Barcelona, they've sacked about half of the backroom staff behind, sort of in the boardroom, and they're getting rid of a load of players over one poor season. This is a club that
Yeah.
have dominated La Liga for years. Madrid have only won the odd title here and there. It's been all Barcelona, and
Yep.
one bad season, and it's whole scale changes. That's a big club. Whether it'll come good or not, I don't know. It seems a bit reactionary, but that is the mentality of a big club. We just
Yeah, that game against Bayern Munich, I mean, I wouldn't compare United to Barcelona at the moment because, well, in fact, they finished second in their league. I know it's easier probably for them to finish second in their league compared to what it is for us. But they still finished second in their league and got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So it's not been very good for them, but it's not been horrendous. It's not like they've finished 10th and got knocked out in the round of 16 or something. It's not like that. So, but as you said, they're making whole scale changes. And why shouldn't we hold our owners and our board responsible and hold them to the same standards as a top club like Barca? Because we should. We shouldn't accept failure. It's not good enough. And the fact that we're haggling over transfers and stuff, and we're saying, "Oh, COVID's done this, COVID's done that." How about they stop blaming COVID? Because at the end of the day, we've lost 20 million when we usually make 600 million revenue a year. We've got the Champions League money now. Buy the players. It doesn't take a hell of a lot. And 20 million, if you want to get into politics about how it's going to impact the transfer budget, the 20 million can, go on. It doesn't matter. That can be taken off another player. But don't take it off the best player that you're going to buy. Don't haggle over 20 million or 10 million with Sancho. I know Dortmund want the money. They want the money straight up. But they're saying they'll take it in installments if we pay like 80 million, 90 million up front. Pay the money, and then you can, recoup the money from selling. We've got so many players to sell. Rojo, Smalling, Jones, they're all looking like potential ones that we can sell. Just, get them out. Get rid of them. And then you've probably recouped half the money that you paid for Sancho in the first place. Problem solved.
Yeah, I think the problem lies in the fact that the owners know that as long as they're in charge of this football club, they're going to make money from it.
Yeah.
Every year, just purely for the name Manchester United, they will make money from people all around the world. But the only hope is that I think the only way you'll ever get rid of them, because they're sitting comfy at the minute, there's no way they're going to sell. There's no way they're going to get rid of Woodward because he's bringing them in heaps of cash every year. They're not football owners; they're business owners that just want to make money out of this club. I think the only way they do leave is the results on the pitch don't improve for another 10 years. We're still stuck in this sort of middle ground of getting fourth every year, and suddenly you've seen how many kids now are supporting Liverpool and City that would 10 years ago have started supporting United when they were a kid. United are losing out on what could be a whole generation of fans, and that's going to have a knock-on effect. They're going to diminish as a club in stature, and the Manchester United name isn't going to cut it anymore. So
Yeah.
Hopefully at that point, if it gets that bad, that's when the Glazers go, right, we're not making money out of this anymore. We need to sell up, and that's when you know we see whole scale changes. But unfortunately, it's not going to be a quick fix at all. The Glazers are they're under no pressure to sell, so why would they?
Well, what I would say is, I know transfer prices are inflated as they always are, but Liverpool have the same problem as United. Their owners are stingy. They always have been, and coincidence, I think not. They're both American, so it makes it all kind of adds up. But they always get value for money, I'd say. You look at the side that won the title, and man for man, is it better than Man City's squad? No. But it seemed to work, it seemed to work better, and it seemed to, have the quality and the consistency to win the title. So it's a case of value for money, I think. And at the moment, I just don't see it with our squad. So Lindelof, not great. As you said, Maguire's not going to lead us to a title. I don't see it. I didn't understand him being captain in the first place. It didn't make any sense to me. I thought that Bruno Fernandes has done more in 6 months than Maguire's done in a year. And he has. He's been more kind of, from what everyone's saying, what every player comes out in every interview and says, he pushes everyone so hard in training and he demands more. He expects more. Harry Maguire's been relegated 4 times. Now, I can understand, he could be a fantastic player now, but he hasn't played at the top level until now. He hasn't. He hasn't been anywhere near there. So I don't see the leadership on the pitch. I don't see him turning around. He's the kind of guy that when two people are shouting at each other, you go, guys, come on, calm down. It's okay. It's absolutely fine. I know we're losing the game, but it's okay. I've been relegated 4 times, so I know what it's like. It's okay. So it doesn't make any sense to me. So either sort it out. Either he's doing well on the training ground, either he's been fantastic on the training ground and leading this side, but I don't see it in games whatsoever. I don't see him yelling at anyone whatsoever. He doesn't demand the best from what I see. Whereas I would have rather had Bruno as captain, because you know how much it means to him to play for United, let alone if he was captain. He would die for the club. You see him running, he'll run from one box to another just to chase the ball back. In like 93rd minute. That's what he's like. Whereas Maguire, I don't know. He's been turned inside out numerous times this season. He's been caught out with his defensive shape. And truthfully, is he worth the 80 million that we paid for him? As you said, no. Because, there's just something that, as I said before, it doesn't sit well with me the way that he plays. He's dominant in the air, good with his feet. But when he's under pressure, he kind of flaps at the ball, and when he's being taken on by a player, he kind of gets turned inside out. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think giving Maguire the armband had nothing to do with footballing reasons at all. I think you look at the transfers we've made, it's obvious the direction the club's heading in, and that's a very homegrown feel. So I think you have this big, commanding English player. Well, commanding's generous, but he's one of the he's already one of the senior figures in the team. I think that's quite clear to see. I
Yeah,
think he was given the captain's armband to create the image of a homegrown British club that United are becoming, whether we like it or not. I think if 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 Harry Maguire was from Portugal, then Luke Shaw might be captain right now, or Marcus Rashford would be captain right now.
yeah,
I just genuinely believe it's an image-based decision. But going back to what you said about Liverpool spending well and getting value for money, they've spent a lot more money than people realise. They've spent world record fees on a goalkeeper and a defender at the time, but
hmm
the difference is that goalkeeper and that defender are now the best two players in their position in the world.
Yep.
Whereas we pay a record fee for a defender. He's arguably not even in the top 10 centre backs in the world.
This is what this is the difference between Van Dijk and Maguire. Van Dijk will win you titles, and he has, and he's dominant, and he's he's demanding of the best players. Whereas Maguire's not. People can make jokes about Van Dijk and him getting taken on and stuff, but it rarely happens. And we've got our Twitter calling Harry Maguire a fridge. There's a difference between the two players. As simple as that. You don't take the mick out of a quality player. It just doesn't happen because there's nothing to take the mick out of in a sense. So yeah,
it's just Van Dijk came in and transformed that team, didn't he? I think Maguire's come in and made us a little bit less shit. That's all he's done. He's just papered over a few cracks. That season that Van Dijk came in, before he came in, Liverpool lost 5-0 to City in the league. He came in, they beat him twice over two legs, like they beat him in both individual games, and then I believe they beat him in the league as well to end their unbeaten run.
Yeah,
just through one signing. That was the one player they signed in that January transfer window. He came in and got them to a Champions League final. This was the same club that were signing Ragnar Klavan.
Yeah.
Thinking that would push them into the top four places. Van Dijk came instantly. It was Liverpool and City on a pedestal above everyone else.
Yeah.
That's what value for money should be. I think as much as I love Pogba as well, he was the most expensive player in the world for a long time. Has he ever been the best player in the world? Has he ever been the best midfielder in the world consistently?
I think what frustrates me the most is we haven't built a side around him, which is one thing that I know it was never said, but it was almost like a silent guarantee from the club. We were going to build a side around this one player because he's fantastic, and he is. He's won a World Cup. He was one of the best players in the World Cup, and you're not playing that playing to that high standard. If you're a crap player, you're not. He is one of the best players in the world in his position. And that's been shown time and time again with how well he plays for France. He has played well for us at times. He played well against Sevilla. I thought his performance was underrated by everyone. He went kind of unnoticed. He's so good at, he takes players on, but he's so good at holding the ball as well. He can hold off 4 players at once. He's a big guy and he's a strong guy, and he's the kind of player that you need, although his defensive work, needs to improve a little bit. But in terms of going forward and kind of dominating midfield, he's been great at that since he's come back. He's able to kind of push people as well around him. Fernandes and him seem to work quite well, but he needs better players to be able to thrive. And if we can get a better squad together, the midfield, those two in midfield are nailed on for next season. But the only way Pogba is going to sign a new contract is if we have a good transfer market. So, yeah.
I think I'd completely agree with you. I think, especially since he's come back, Pogba's dominated every single game he's played in. But because of the stigma around him, he's expected to pull out an extraordinary performance every single game just to get any sort of recognition. The thing, they were saying he played horrendously against Sevilla, but you look at his stats from the game and you look at his individual highlights. He dominated that midfield for large periods of the game. He was the reason that we were so on top for most of the game. But yeah, just to go back to my earlier point, as good of a signing as he has been, and I love him. I'd want him to stay at the club until he retires. I just don't feel he's ever been the best midfielder in the world at any one point. Over the space of a season, I don't think he's ever consistently been better than De Bruyne. That just as a instant comparison. But yeah, United they're not money savvy like Liverpool are. They don't spend big on transformative players. They spend big on luxury players that we don't even know how to get the best out of. I think
Yeah,
that does it all. These are players who were world class when they came to us. You know, Pogba, when he came to us, was the hottest prospect in world football. He was going to be the best midfielder for a decade,
yeah,
and we've somehow managed to turn him into someone who he's not, is he? He's not the player that we're
no,
originally signed. I think he's showing signs he can get back to that, but you know he's 27 now. He's in his prime. These are the sort of
see the best version of him. We need
yeah.
to see the best version of him. As simple as that. He has got that player in him, but we need to see the best of it. And the only way to do that is to bring top quality players in, and that'll bring the best out of a top quality player. That's how it works. So, yeah.
Yeah. Moving on then to another club who just are not money savvy at all. I think it's time for a return of L of the week, and it's got to be handed over to Barcelona, surely.
L of the last 5 years,
Absolutely.
without even a shadow of a doubt.
It's probably been one of their
But
worst weeks as a club in their history, I believe. You know, they've
yeah.
been embarrassed on a world stage,
Hmm.
despite having the world's best player on their team. They've got one of the well, is it? I think they paid a lot more for their. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they paid double the amount for their squad than Bayern did,
Yeah.
and lost 8-2. You know now they've sacked their manager, who before joining Barcelona was one of the but well regarded as many by as one of the best coaches in the world. I think
Hmm.
during his time at Betis,
Yeah.
they've now sacked him. They've reportedly sacked half of their backroom staff. You know, Eric
Mhm.
Abidal was gone, the director of football. I
Yeah.
know a lot more are on their way out, and they've put up half the squad for sale and hired Ronald Koeman.
Yeah.
It's not been a good week for him.
Here comes the rant. I'm going to start it with how the hell can you spend that much money and lose a game 8-2 to Bayern Munich? I can understand Bayern scoring goals, okay? They're a fantastic side. They've been fantastic the whole season. But to concede 8 in a quarterfinal of the Champions League is shameful. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the club. Um, you see the players walking when they scored the sixth goal. You know, they've got a back line of, I can understand, you know, a couple of the players aren't quite right. Semedo's not a very good player. He's quick. PK, way past his best. We've been thinking this for the last 5 years. He's been bang average for the last like 3 or 4 years, you know, as I said, possibly 5. Longley, not a bad player. Played okay, I thought, you know, I think he got one of the goals. He's not a terrible player, but again, is he world class standard? I don't know. Jordi Alba, it was the only one that I thought played okay, although he's a little cheating scumbag because he dives all the time. I can't stand it. It's really annoying. Was I annoyed that Barca lost? Hell no, because they've had it come into them for the last few years. Their fans are so arrogant about how good they are, and yet they've come second in the league and they've just conceded 8 in a quarterfinal of the Champions League. That is, to me, if that's not proof that your squad's not performing and the backroom staff aren't doing their job, I don't know what is. You said about Kike Settin, he's not a bad manager. And I know the blame will be pinned on him by the president of the club, Bartomeu. He believes that it's all everyone else's fault. When the reality of the matter is, he hasn't been doing his job for the last like 2 years. He hasn't. He's just sold. I mentioned that we mentioned this before in one of the podcasts, and I said it was going from bad to worse, and it's gone from bad to worse. They've just shipped out Arthur, who was one of the most promising midfielders in the world, still is, and will do well at Juventus. I'm sure of that. Especially being mentored now by Pirlo, not a bad mentor. So he's gone, and they brought in another older player, 29, pushing 30. You know, Pjanic. He's not a terrible player again, But is he a starting player for Juve? No. So they are going from bad to worse. They are making poor signings. They're making poor decisions. The board needs to change. As you said, they're making whole-scale changes. But they don't need to make a change from here to here. They need to change from top to bottom. Simple as that. So Messi's attitude in the game, walking. I can accept many things about a team, and this is what annoys me. If you're playing for the best club in the world, if you're the best player in the world, you don't walk in a game. It is embarrassing. He's captaining the side, and he's walking back when they're under attack. I saw a clip of him. He's midway between his own box and the halfway line, and a player runs away from him, and he just stands there and watches him go. That is, if I saw a United player doing that, or anyone saw a United player doing that, he would be hung out to dry after the game. That was embarrassing. You know, that's a captain. That's like Harry Maguire watching a player go past him and just walking. I can understand he's not very quick, but he's still making an effort to get back. So there are so many things that are fundamentally wrong with that club. And it stems from, so there's a image of Abidal having a conversation with Kike Setien. I think it's about sacking him. They're having lunch or whatever. I think it's about, telling him he's gone. And then they go and fire the guy who's just fired the manager within hours. It's terrible. It really is terrible. And, their slogan on their badge, or the one that you see in the stadium, more than just a club. It's not more than just a club. It's an embarrassing shambles. It's not a club anymore. They're trying to run it like a business. They're trying to run it like the Glazers are running United. And I'm telling you now, I would be disappointed if I were Barca fans. But if United ever got into this situation where we got thrashed and had 8 put past us in the Champions League, all hell would break loose between United fans. As I said, I can accept many things, and this isn't even a team that I don't really like Barcelona, but I think it's sad to see what we saw. Them shipping 8 goals. I think it's sad. It's sad for the world of football. Barcelona. So you put them in the bracket of the top 3 clubs in the world, usually. Regardless of whether you have, Juve or United in there or Real Madrid, Barca will always be in that bracket, regarded as, one of the teams to beat in Europe. And that performance, that showed everything that was wrong with that club. And I know that they've put a load of players up for sale now, as you said. They put half their squad up for sale. Interestingly enough, they haven't put, Griezmann, or I know they want to keep De Jong. I can understand that. Suarez is going to go by the looks of it. He's up for sale, even though he's been probably one of their better performers this season. So it's time for them to go and get rid of the old and bring in the new. But how can the club say that's an ethos or a mentality when they've just brought in a 29-year-old player for 60 million? How can they say that is a mentality when they've just made a transfer that makes absolutely no sense? Not just, I can understand if you're bringing in one of the best players in the world, but Pjanic isn't. He was 2 years ago. He was one of the top players in the world 2 years ago, but now he's nowhere near that. So, again, a transfer that makes absolutely no sense for all parties, apart from Juventus. They're probably laughing. They're getting off of 60 million for, or they have to pay 10 million to ship out a player they don't want to keep anyway, and bring in a player that's fantastic and has done well for Barca this season. It doesn't sit well with me. And as you said, they've just appointed Ronald Koeman. Again, I could be proven wrong, but this is someone that just failed at Everton. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think I'm out of line by saying he's not that good of a manager. he was okay at Southampton. So his track record in the last like 4 years: Southampton, Everton, Netherlands. So massive jump up to the Netherlands. Fair play to him. But Barcelona, really? I mean, they're trying to. I think he played for them, so they're trying to hire people that have been involved with the club before. And to me, again, that doesn't make any sense to me. I can understand if they're appointing a manager. I can understand if they went and appointed Guardiola again. I can completely understand that. But Koeman, my God, they lose 8-2 and then they go and hire someone who's just failed in the Premier League and also failed by spending a load of money on players that have done nothing for that club. And I saw, I looked over, I think it was Gary Neville doing an analysis of Everton when Koeman was there and with some of the players. I think it was a Spurs game this year. Most of the players that Koeman had brought in, and again, they're just walking around. It's like they know they're getting paid at the end of the day, so they don't care what they do. So it could be a stroke of genius, this management decision. He could turn out to go and win them the Champions League. But if he does that, I will give you the keys to my house and I will just say you can take it, because it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
I'll make sure I make a clip of that and save it somewhere very secure.
Go for it. If that bites me in the arse, then that'll be interesting.
I can't disagree with what you're saying. It says everything you need to know when their all-time record signing, who still belongs to them, has just scored 2 goals to knock them out of the Champions League against them.
Yeah.
Only Barcelona could make Coutinho look as good as he was at Liverpool again. And it just says it all. I think there's got to have been something going on behind the scenes as to why they've not got Pochettino in. They're saying that it's because he's got links to Espanyol, but that can't be a reason.
That's so petty.
If Guardiola had ever approached United in the future and was like, "I'll take over if you want," they're not going to turn him down because he had links to City, are they?
No,
it's not something that happens. So there's got to have been something that's gone on behind the scenes there. I agree with you. Ronald Koeman is a horrendous appointment. The thing I was reading up a little bit on him. I could have missed something out, but I think he did well when he started managing Ajax in about 2003.
Yeah,
started well, then petered off. He won a couple of titles, but then I think he got sacked after they finished 8 points behind the leaders.
Winning titles in the Netherlands with Ajax.
Yeah, he then
I could probably do it.
Then went to Benfica for a couple of years and won 1 Super Cup, and that's it.
Right.
The only place he's had relative success is when he took over Southampton from Pochettino. So that was a club that was already very well built by, the Argentinian, and he guided them to a 7th and a 6th place finish, which he deserves credit for.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then took over Everton. He still holds a record for most spent by that club in a single transfer window. I think he spent about 150 million in one window. And was sacked the next season after they fell into the relegation places. So he's not the caliber of manager that Barcelona want. I don't think he's anywhere close to the managerial ability that Quique Setien had. So it's a downgrade. It's a horribly run club.
It baffles me, and also I have a little bit of sympathy for Setien in that game. As a manager, I don't know what it's like, obviously, but I can only assume you're stood on the touchline with your players that aren't listening to you when you've been given a squad that is absolutely shit. It really is. It's like, the average age of 29, I think it was, in that squad, in the game that they played. An average age of 29. And you've got to remember they had Frankie de Jong in there, who was like 21. So he would have brought the average age down. If they'd have had a 25-year-old midfielder in there, the average age would have been 30. It's just embarrassing. There's aging, and then there's that squad. That's what I'll say. That's so below par with the kind of quality and yeah, there was just I didn't see any leadership there either. Messi kind of he's don't get me wrong, he is probably the best player in the world. You know, it's always been a debate between him and Ronaldo as to who's the best player in the world, although Neymar is now close behind because both of those two are kind of underperforming a little bit at the moment. But he probably is the best player in the world. But is he a leader? I can understand him being captain because, you know, you go to Barca and, oh my God, it's Messi. You know, it's amazing. A lot of people will be starstruck. But I didn't see him leading by example in that game at all. The only example he set was that you can fucking walk back and do what the hell you want. And you can also be given a free pass by the bloody president who will just stand there after the game with his knob in his hand saying, oh, yeah, we'll keep half these players. At the end of the day, what is the point? Sorry about the language there. Got a bit annoyed.
All right.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. Disgraceful. And I don't usually rant and rave about other sides that I don't like, but this was one where you can't let it go unnoticed because it was that bad, you know?
I think one person I feel sorry for most is Frankie de Jong. Like you mentioned, this is a player who at 21 years old put Modric on his arse in the Bernabeu. You know,
Hmm.
he ran the show home and away against Juventus in the
Yeah,
Champions League in an Ajax squad that was full of good players, but not Barcelona standard players.
yeah,
He's now come to Barcelona, and you know, there's no doubt he's still a very good player, but he just looks a shadow of his former self. And this was, you know, last year I was absolutely buzzing to see him go to Barcelona. You
mm,
know, play with players like Messi, Griezmann, Suarez, and it's just not worked for him. And you can understand it a settling in period, but if this goes on for a couple more seasons, we Barcelona might have robbed us of one of the brightest talents in football
yeah,
ever. That's the way he was going. He was the next Xavi. He was going to be a generational talent, and he's been anything but this season. So he's the one I really feel sorry for. I think he's been described by the president as one of the untouchables that's not going, and I think deep down he might be a little bit annoyed by that. I get it's a dream club to go to, but surely he sees that this club isn't heading in the right direction.
yeah. A lot of players will see that. And
Just
sorry, carry on.
I was just thinking, I was watching the game and imagining, you know, buy and get rid of Thiago. Can you imagine Frankie de Jong in that midfield? Bayern
It
would be
will be,
unstoppable. They'd be
yeah,
unstoppable yet again. It's just he's there's so many better clubs out there for him by the looks of it, unless Barcelona really, you know, get it together. But yeah, you know,
they go
he's
through
a
a transition period. I can understand transition periods because you know we've been through it as a club. But there's a difference between transition and hitting purely rock bottom, and they've hit rock bottom. Now I think, I mean, if they go any lower than this, then there's there's something fundamentally wrong with that club. But there seems to be a kind of a culture within Barca. And you said about Frankie De Jong there. If I were him, I'd be thinking, did I come in the door at the wrong time? Because he's just come in one of the biggest transitions they'll have as a club in probably the last 20 years. So, yeah, he's probably coming in at the wrong time, to be honest. And I do feel sorry for him. And as you said, in that Bayern midfield, he'd be absolutely incredible. But he was one of the players, again, didn't play poorly in that game. I didn't really see him give the ball away loads. But, you know, if Koeman can make these players work and make them run, then maybe he'll have a good side. But they seem to be a team full of arrogant snobs. I think with the way that they don't work. You know, I see the one player they're going to get rid of definitely is Suarez. They seem to want to get rid of him anyway. And although he's ex-Liverpool, and I don't, you know, I don't hate him, but I don't like him. He did all that, the stuff with Evra, and I think should have been banned for longer for that. I thought that was utterly disgraceful. Um, but in terms of being a player, he was one of the only players that was actually running to kind of chase the ball down and stuff. He looked more energetic than most of the other players on the side. They brought Griezmann on. Griezmann again, fantastic at Atletico because he was the main guy. He was the main man. They relied on him to score goals. They put him up top, and now they're playing him as like a left winger. So again, they've had so many signings that have failed. And as you said, the one signing that the biggest signing they made, they shipped out on loan to someone else, and he scored 2 goals against them. So again, rock bottom. Coutinho, when he came on, was fantastic. He was running the show. He was on the edge of the box, picking apart a team that he's picking apart his parent club. So what? 2 goals and 1 assist. I think that's what he got in the end. Or was it 1 goal and 1 assist? I can't.
No, he definitely scored 2. He might have set one up as well.
He'd set one up for Lewandowski.
I think he only played about 15 minutes as well, didn't he? 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. So out of the 8 goals, 3 were largely done by Coutinho, largely created and scored by Coutinho. So, again, what, 150 million they spent on him? Something like that
Around
anyway?
that, yeah. I think in pounds it was like 137 million.
Right. So 130 million on Dembele, 150 on Coutinho. Dembele has been average, and he's had attitude issues from what everyone's saying. He's been turning up late to training, and can't be asked in training. And fine, they can get rid of him, but they will not get the 130 they paid for him. Not a chance. They'll get what, 50, 60, something like that. And then they want to get rid of Coutinho still. Well, potentially, if Koeman wants to keep him, which if I were him, I would stick him in that attacking mid role, which he played at Liverpool, because he was absolutely fantastic in that last season he played for Liverpool. He was amazing. He looked, like he was one of the best players in the world while he was there. There's no shame in admitting that. So they've got an opportunity to build a good squad again, but they've got to get rid of some of the dead wood, and I think at least 5 of those players. Ter Stegen, I felt so sorry for him. My God. Although he gave the ball away a couple of times, he was doing all he could, really, and he was saving as many shots as he could, but still shipped 8. Without him in goal, so who's their second keeper? Neto, isn't it?
Yeah.
So with Neto in goal, they would have shipped 15 in that game, easily. So, again, I felt sorry for him, and they've got a huge rebuilding job, and they've got to stop this tiki-taka mentality if it's not working within their side, because the whole thing about you have 2 players stood 5 feet either side of you when you've got a goal kick, and you just play it to them. They play it to, I think they conceded 2 goals at least because of that. You play it to one player. United do it, and I know that it annoys you, but it really annoys me. You've got 2 players next to you, and you play it to them, and then if you're being closed down, you've got no option, so you just whack it anyway.
Yeah, it's just inviting pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't do it as much against Sevilla, to be fair, and it seemed to work. You saw a few times De Gea would be looking at either player thinking, do I want to play it to either one of them? No, just try and hit a man, on the halfway line or whatever. That's absolutely fine. But unless you're City or maybe Bayern, unless you've got the top class players who can do that and make it work, why do it in the first place? So yeah, that whole tiki-taka thing as well has got to change, because it's past it now. Yeah. City play it, and where's that got them? It's got them, a couple of Premier Leagues, fair play, but it's got them absolutely nowhere in the Champions League because they just give the ball away and concede goals, as we saw against Lyon.
Yeah, so, I'll just go back on a couple of things you said. I completely agree with you about the Ter Stegen thing, because he's still not broken into that Germany team properly. This was his big audition against his main rival in goal, in
Yep.
Neuer, and his team have just completely embarrassed him. Like you said, a lot of the goals that were scored, he could have done nothing about. You know, they were tap-ins that the rest of the team have just let him down in. And yeah, I'd be so angry if I was him. You know, he's just been completely embarrassed by his biggest rival. But yeah, just as well to go back, I've had this opinion for a while. I'll stand by it. Bias aside, I know he used to be a Liverpool player, but I think Luis Suarez is the only player I've seen who's warranted a career-ending injury. It makes me so angry that he's as successful as he is because, you know, he's just a scumbag. He's he's
He
got
is, yeah.
away he's got away with at least one count of racism. He's bit
Yeah.
players. He's bit a player 3 times.
Yeah.
Been done for racism. He's a world-renowned diver. Not that that's the biggest crime in football, but you know, actually
Yeah.
there's a passage of play where I think it was Thiago went in for a challenge with him. He stood on Thiago's ankle, nowhere near the ball. Referee doesn't see it, despite being 5 yards away. It's a debatable red card. That he then goes for a
Mhm.
50-50 with Boateng. That Boateng wins. Suarez goes absolutely flying, flinging himself to the floor, rolling around, and wins a free kick from it. And I think that just sums up the sort of bloke he is. So yeah, just going off on a tangent. I think Luis Suarez
He's,
is.
yeah.
I'm happy to see the fact that he's 33 and he'll be gone soon.
He's I can understand, he's a bit of a knob, let's be honest, he is, and as you said there, you hit the nail on the head with what you said there. He's a cheat and he's a bit of a scumbag, but there's no denying his ability. And even as a United fan, it pains me to say it, he is a good player. And if he cut out all of that and was a bit, a better sportsman, and I will never forgive him for that racism incident, and I'll never forgive all the Liverpool players for wearing T-shirts supporting him. So, they're all as bad as each other in that sense. I know Henderson apologised for it, but don't do it in the first place. It was a stupid idea. Backing someone that's racist, and not only they were doing kind of innocent until proven guilty, and then he was proven guilty anyway. So it made no sense to me whatsoever. So yeah, I don't particularly like him as a human being. I think he's a prat, but again, he is a fantastic player, and he proved that against Bayern. He turned Boateng inside out, although he turned his back when he was defending. Again, another thing that really annoys me about defenders: just don't turn your back because you can't see what's going on.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. I think if he'd have just had a nice, quiet career away from all the controversy, he'd be consistently regarded as one of the greatest strikers of all time. You know, his numbers don't lie.
Yeah,
He is statistically one of the best attackers in history. And I think his legacy, he's just tainted his own legacy completely, and he's only got himself to blame for that. So, yeah, as much as it pains me to say it, he's probably one of the best strikers the Premier League's ever seen. He's definitely one of the best strikers in La Liga history.
he's still one of the best strikers in the world, I think.
Yeah,
Although it looks like that he might go back to Ajax, and oh my day, he'll score 50 goals in a season if he plays in the Eredivisie, because that league is average, average at best. So he'll rip that league apart with even with an average squad around him. So yeah, I can't say he's not one of the best players in the world because I still think he is. And what they'll do, what the president at Barca will do, is he'll pin the blame on 4 or 5 players and the manager, and everyone will try and forget about it. And although I don't want to see them lose 8-2 again, because it's horrible to see a top club like that lose 8-2 again. Although if it was Liverpool, no complaints from me. But I don't want to see that happen again. But it could be on the cards yet again. And if it happens again, this time, if it happens, I hope it happens and it's like 11-2. So then they make fundamental changes within the squad and the management. And as you said, the whole thing with Espanyol, Why is there so much? I know there's bad blood between the two because they're both Catalan clubs and they both hate each other, and that's fine. But squabbling over a manager because because he's been at Espanyol before, what? It makes no sense whatsoever. He's one of the best managers on the market, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised Juve didn't take him up either. I understand they want to keep it in house with Perlo and stuff. I completely respect that, but there's a manager that is waiting, who is a top class manager that is waiting for a call from someone, and he must be feeling like absolute crap now because he had the chance to go to Barca, he had the chance to go to Juve, and he had the chance to go to United. So he had three different options, and they've all just turned their heads. So it'll only be a matter of time before he does get a top job, and you could see him at Real or somewhere like that. Although whether Zidane will leave, I don't know. But yeah,
Well, on that then, if United had an identical season next season as they've had this season, would you sack Ole and get Poch in if he was still available?
if the season is stagnant and, as you said, it's just a steady line, we do nothing this transfer window, I think Ollie, he might even. I don't think he'd walk away from the job, but he's either going to kick the Glazers up the arse and tell them to get their act together, or he will get sacked. Yeah, because at the end of the day, the thing that matters most to our owners is Champions League money. So if we don't get Champions League next year, he will get sacked. There is no question about it. He knows that it's a requirement for them because they want the money. They want to spend less money in the transfer market and they want to have more money in their pockets so they can go and buy a new Ferrari. Or whatever they do with those weird guys, whatever they do. So, yeah, they're willing to spend money. They will spend money. They've just gone and spent on Tampa Bay. They've just gone and brought in, the biggest name in the NFL. Brought in Tom Brady and Gronkowski as well. So they're willing to spend the money in the American football. So why can't they just go and spend the money in, English football and bring us a good player? I'm just thinking they've got probably two of the biggest names in the NFL. Those two come as a pair and they are, regarded as the best of the best, essentially. So, yeah, if they spend the money this year, I don't think we'll have a poor season. But as you said, if it's still kind of steady at third or fourth next year and we don't win a trophy, I think that's a requirement for next year for Solskjaer to win a trophy and do well in the Champions League. That is a must. And if he doesn't, then yeah, I think he'll be sacked. And I would love Pochettino because he did so much with that Spurs side, and that Spurs side is awful. It really is awful. We're seeing it now. They were celebrating finishing in the Europa League spaces. So it's not a very good side. And he got to the Champions League final with them. So with a better side, he could win trophies. I have no doubt about that.
Well, on that note, I think we'll call it a day then.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks as ever for watching. I've been myself. Thanks for joining me, Emery, again.
Yeah.
And,
thank you much, guys, for watching.
We'll see you next week.